gentlemen, welcome to a star-spangled salute to an all-American city, Portsmouth, Ohio, where Southern hospitality begins. A city rich in cultural heritage, a city of progress, and that very special place we call home.
The youth of our community and the cast arrive to salute our past and welcome our celebration's First Lady.
Ladies and gentlemen, a long-awaited moment. The court of royal princesses arrive in breathtaking splendor to add dignity and charm to this evening's presentation.
In fifth place is the lovely Mary Ruth Charles, escorted by Tom Weslowski.
Fourth place recognizes our own Wendy Towns with her escort, Jim Cooper.
Answers to third place, and John Schaefer is the lucky friend.
Heir apparent in second place in the royal court is Helen Fagan. Her escort is Doug Denny.
A moment of breathtaking enchantment. To the music of Broadway's My Fair Lady comes Portsmouth Fair Lady Mildred Thompson, escorted by
At this time, ladies and gentlemen, it is our pleasure to introduce A.L. Addington, General Chairman of Portsmouth's 175th birthday celebration, who will crown our First Lady.
With much gratitude and humility, I wish to thank everyone for this wonderful honor which has been bestowed on me. Portsmouth, Ohio is a proud community, and I am equally proud of it. Now let's all take time to say, Happy Birthday! About to witness is true. The story of Portsmouth, Ohio. It is based on past records, and history is always an interesting story. Here is the dramatization of a courageous people turning a page in the book of time.
What is there in any event that may foreshadow greatness? If you can find the answer, can you also tell if the same thing will make a community great? Not just in religion, customs, and tradition, but greatness in people, dignity, culture, and legend. What was it in the Book of Destiny?
Was it the legacy of those ancient inhabitants of our soil, the Mound Builders, who revered our area as sacred and bequeathed to our time the mysterious evidence of their existence?
Was it the Wyandotte who first discovered the beauty and grandeur of the river and whispered the word, Ohio?
Was it those early explorers and adventurers who braved the wilds of the region and laid claim to the land?
Was it Henry Massey or Josiah Shackford who fulfilled the promise of founding a town and first platted the village of Portsmouth, naming it for Shackford's native Portsmouth, New Hampshire?
Was it those first city fathers, Glover, Brown, Garkey, Burt, Houston, Kendall, and Clow, whose pioneer vision nurtured a dream for the future?
Perhaps it was Peter Cartwright or Henry Baskin, the early circuit riders who ministered to the spiritual needs of our founders and fired their zeal to carve new homes from the land.
Maybe it was John Peebles, W. Grant Williams and Sons, or the other early industrialists who built factories and provided jobs to spur the growth of Portsmouth.
Maybe it was those early educators and teachers who contributed to the intellectual and cultural growth of our community.
But who is this gentleman, and why is he in such a hurry?
Why, yes.
No, it can't be.
But it is.
Say,
Grant, why, that's old Aquar.
Drink 2 quarts of yellow root tea and catch me in the morning.
Dr. Thomas Waller, graduate of William Mary College, class of...
The man the street was named for?
That's right, Portsmouth's first doctor. In fact, he came to Alexandria, the original settlement, in 1801. So he was here before there was a Portsmouth.
He was the first postmaster, served as president of the first town council, and was the only physician in the county until 1816.
Dr. Waller would certainly be familiar with the early history of the area. Let's ask him. Excuse me, Dr. Waller?
Oh, doctor!
Someday patients will come to the doctor. I'm getting a little too old for all this.
But Doc,
Can't stop to talk to you now. I've got urgent business to attend to. Urgent business.
but
I've got to get over to Uriah Barber's hotel. Mrs. Barber's nearing the end of her confinement and...
I thought they used midwives in those days.
Well, many do, but I promised Uriah I'd stop by. Besides, I've got what many consider a revolutionary idea. Been thinking of writing a paper on it. Gonna call it The Concept of Prenatal Care. Of course, I don't mean to give the impression that I'm one of those radical new doctors who believe in coddling malingers. Nah, nothing like that.
Doctor, don't you know where you are?
Oh, well, I reckon I should. I've had my practice here in Portsmouth for some time now.
Doc, hurry! I think she's having it.
There's old Uriah Barber now. Be with you in a minute, Uriah. As I was saying, I've been here in Portsmouth since 1811. The missus and I have moved up here from Alexandria and bought 104 acres from Henry Massey. Paid $1,000 for it. But it's worth every penny to be up here on higher ground.
Doc, will you get a move on?
I'm coming, Uriah. Just hold your horses. Anybody'd think he was the one that was having it.
How do we tell him?
Just say it.
Doc, this may come as something of a shock, but this is 1990, and we're here to celebrate Portsmouth's 175th anniversary.
Do tell. 1990, you say? Well, as a matter of fact, it does seem strange to see all these folks here. I just cut through the pasture, and here y'all are.
Doc, hurry!
Well, I sure would like to join you, but as you can see, I'm running a little late already, and...
One question before you leave.
Well, all right, but make it snappy.
What can you tell us about early Portsmouth?
Early Portsmouth. Well, that takes a lot of thinking. I remember when we were incorporated in 1815, March the 1st it was. But there's really no time at all. Why don't you start with, Now look what you've done. Mrs. Barber's had to go and do it without me. Gotta go.
But, Doc, what were you going to tell us?
Huh? I was going to say, why don't you start with the first Portsmouthites, the Mound Builders?
The Mound Builders? Why, they're not even in the script.
Well, they should be. They were the first culture hereabouts. You'd learn something if you'd put them in the right place in the show. Right now.
Doc, hurry! There's another one!
Another one. Do tell. Twins. Portsmouth's first set.
Doc, please!
Calm down, Uriah. I've never lost a father yet. Well, as soon as I get away, I'll come back. I'd like to hear more of this Portsmouth story.
Well, why not?
But the Mound Builders? Dr. Waller is right. We should begin at the beginning. The Mound Builders?
The Mound Builders!
But what do we know of them? Where did they come from?
Sometime in the remote past, beginning probably 15,000 years ago, Mongolian family groups in search of new hunting grounds crossed the ice of Bering Strait, and in a series of migrations over the course of many years spread southward to the lands of the sun. Their descendants became the Indian tribes of Canada and the United States.
The first Indians were mound builders. The strange, vanished people lived from 2000 BC to 900 AD, and under the spell of the beauty of the region, made their home in the Scioto Valley. They chose Chillicothe as their capital, built as their temple, Serpent Mound, and selected the site of present-day Portsmouth as their burial place, and for their ritualistic campfires.
Through incredible feats of labor, they built more than 10,000 mounds and 1,500 circumvallations in the length of the Scioto Valley. No other works like these are found in any other part of the known world.
A group of 4 horseshoe mounds stood in Mound Park. The easternmost mound is well preserved and can still be seen. These mounds were enclosed in a circle 600 feet in diameter, with parallel wall mounds extending to the Temple Mound across the river into Kentucky, the wall broken only by the river.
As these people came, so they left. And even today, their mysterious disappearance has led many people to call these mound builders the vanished race.
For almost 1,000 years after the Mound Builders, there is no evidence of permanent inhabitants in the area until around 1650 when the Wyandotte Indians came.
They were, for the most part, a people deriving their living from agriculture, raising corn, beans, squash, and sunflowers for oil. It was they who gave the name Ohio to the great river which has been handed down to us as Ohio.
Then in the mid-1700s, a tribe of warlike Shawnee moved up from the south, determined to prevent the white man from settling the Scioto Valley. They built their village on the west bank at the mouth of the Scioto.
The strategic importance of the site of the confluence of La Belle Riviere, the beautiful Ohio, and the Scioto River was early recognized by the French, who believed that whoever held this point would control the entire continent.
The man you see before you is one Céloron de Bienville, leader of the French Expeditionary Party, credited with the first authentic exploration of the Ohio River.
The year is 1749, and he has been sent by France to reassert her claim to the territory. His mission is to warn the English traders to leave the region, and he is to bury lead plates declaring France's claim at the mouth of the Scioto. However, there were 5 English traders and a settlement of Shawnee already there.
Mon Dieu! What was that?
A salute!
Ah, the Indians approach. I hope all is ready for the parley.
Mais oui, mon capitaine. They have left their guns behind. It is obvious from their waste of ammunition that the English are supplying them all the gunpowder they can use. Beware, mon capitaine. These red devils are not to be trusted.
Nonsense, mon frère. Remember, we speak for France. I have come in the name of France to bury these lead plates at the points where the river forks, renewing our possession of the river Ohio as far as the sources of the river. And it is my duty to warn the English colonialists in your company to leave these lands at once or risk dire consequences.
During the council, a band of Shawnee warriors have made their way along the river and stand defiantly overlooking the scene. They are spotted by a guard, and upon seeing this obvious threat, Céloron orders his men to take up arms.
To arms, men! To arms! You have broken your word. Those warriors are carrying guns loaded with English powder. Such actions can only lead to bloodshed. I must order my men to take up positions for our defense.
Peace, my frightened brother. We intend no harm. We have come to listen as you have instructed. We hear your words, and we shall weigh them carefully. But do not be alarmed. To show we mean no harm, I will command my warriors to return to the village. Ni koya wata haya.
Celeron's councils with the Indians failed to promote the cause of France, and the attempt to drive the English traders from the territory was unsuccessful.
I was instructed to plunder the English, but they were too well established with the Indians for that. I would only be attempting a task which would not have succeeded, and would only have brought disgrace upon France. Merci, mon frère. Viva la France!
A year later, Christopher Gist, representing the British, visited Lower Shawnee Town and further cemented friendly cooperation between the British and the Shawnee.
The end of French domain came in 1763 when their lands were taken from them after the French and Indian War. Eventually, they were driven from the valley and the continent.
The Shawnee of Scioto wandered great distances seeking proper hunting grounds. In the month of July 1755, we find a hostile band at a place in Virginia called Draper's Meadows. Dear Heavenly Father, our thanks to Thee for the gifts Thou hast placed before us.
John!
We ask Thy blessing on each of us as we strive to...
John! There's someone outside our window.
What's that you say, Mary?
I saw someone move past the window.
Hurry, hide the children and fetch your gun.
A young wife watches horrified as her husband is slain, forcing her to submit to the will of the savage and be taken captive along with her 2 young sons.
The Indians collected horses, firearms, ammunition, and goods of light weight that could be taken with them and set out for their village at the mouth of the Scioto. They followed the general courses of the Kanawha and the Ohio rivers to the Shawnee village, where they arrived in August of 1755.
The stolen goods were divided among the Indians, as was their custom.
On the journey, Mary Ingalls, who was then about 23 years old, gave birth to a daughter. Shortly before reaching the village, most of the other prisoners taken in the Virginia raid were slaughtered.
The prisoners were then separated. One of Mary Ingalls' sons was taken to Detroit, the other somewhere in the interior, and the infant was left with her.
At the mouth of the Scioto, came upon the village. They met with instant favor among the Indians. Among the items they brought to trade was a supply of checkered shirting. This immediately caught the fancy of the Indians, and in their preoccupation with the traders, they relaxed their vigilance over her movements.
Mary Ingalls, the first white woman to set foot in Scioto County, had made a difficult decision. In order to escape, it was necessary to leave her infant daughter to the mercy of the Indians.
Poor little baby girl. Mom has to leave you now. If I don't go now, while they're busy with the traders, I may never have another chance. I know you would never live through the journey. God, let them adopt her. Oh, let them be good
Ingalls made her way back to Virginia about December of that year. The homeward-bound journey through a trackless wilderness, the difficulties she encountered, the loss of her husband and children, form one of the most tragic and heroic stories of frontier history.
Listen, 1990, I demand time for my people in your story of yesterday. We're a proud race. History often points to us with a savage hammer.
Are you saying that history has been unkind to the red man?
I say that history has been distorted. As you can see, we had our own culture. Families lived, lovers met, and old ones with years of wisdom shivered a while at the campfire and passed into the land of the Great Spirit. We taught our children to brave the elements and to survive from winter to winter. The sun, moon, and rain were our religion. Now my people prepare a ceremonial dance. Let us smoke our pipe of peace and talk to Manito, who lives in the heavens. To you, great Manito, who dwells in the arms of the warm winds, give us wise counsel and let our people live in plenty. To you, Pinyampata, who lives where the hills swallow the sun, send us good skies and let our people live in peace.
Who loved beautiful Ohio with such a fervent passion that he thrilled to the whispering winds in its great forest, to the babbling clear streams that crisscrossed its unplowed surface, to the sun, moon, and stars that smiled down so favorably upon his hunting ground and his way of life. He met force and aggression in kind, never humbling himself before a white foe, but standing proudly and bravely before irresistible forces of a strange civilization that was in such marked contrast to his own.
The Indian in his ritual might appear paganistic, but his great faith in the sun made him a believer that the Manitou lived high in the beyond. His beliefs were indeed a consecration to the sun god.
Symbolized the mystery of the Indian god of plenty. This was a song of the earth, an expression of thanks, and an offering to the spirits.
Of the Revolutionary War, the Shawnee abandoned their town at the mouth of the Scioto.
As more and more white men came west and pushed back the horizon, we were to leave our hunting ground.
Chief, are you moving west?
Not yet. I go to my dressing room, have another part in this show. I've been down the Ohio to the middle ground and come back alive to tell the tale. It's full of more game and bird critters you could ever dream of. Land so fertile a bean grows like a tree, and the grass tickles your belly when you walk. But it's a strange and dangerous place. Only the brave or the foolish dare to enter there, for not all return, the foolish less often than the brave.
We'll go.
Down the river they came, John Collins, Major John Belli, Major James Munn, the soldier returning where he had seen the fertile soil of the Indians, the trader and the trapper where he knew the game was plentiful, and then the permanent settler.
The original settlement was called Alexandria and was plotted as a town in 1799. The village was located in the bottomland west of the mouth of the Scioto River.
That man over there seems to have a big crowd interested in what he has to say.
That's Henry Massey, the man who laid out the town of Portsmouth in 1803. He's trying to encourage settlement in the new town. And right now, he's talking to the citizens of Alexandria.
Friends, I mean exactly what I say. If you'll move your belongings and build your homes in Portsmouth, I'll guarantee you'll be conveyed the same amount of lots you're now holding. There's no denying that someday Portsmouth will become the most important city inside a county.
Sounds like a good deal to me. But look, they're not buying it.
No, they didn't buy it. The hope that Alexandria would become the county seat kept them from moving, but only for the time being. Alexandria is important to the history of Portsmouth because it was located at an excellent commercial point. And had it not been for the periodic flooding, the settlers would never have moved to higher ground, and Portsmouth would not be in existence today.
When the first settlers arrived in the early 19th century, they found virgin forest embracing the grandeur and freshness of the Ohio.
Aaron and Mary Kinney came from Pennsylvania in 1802 in a 4-horse wagon. And in 1810, they began building their brick house.
Away, away, come away with me, where the grass grows wild, where the winds blow free. Away, away, come away with me, and I'll build you a home in the meadow. For the willing hand. Come, come, there's a wondrous land where I'll build you a home in the meadow. The stars, oh how bright they'll shine on a world the Lord must have helped design. The stars, oh how bright they'll shine on that home we will build in the meadow. Come, come, there's a wondrous land for the hopeful heart, for the willing hand. Come, come, there's a wondrous land
While inspecting their land, the Kinneys discovered the famous Kinney Spring, which for many years furnished cool, clear water to Portsmouth residents. Ford the raging river, pushed the trail grass back, blazed new trails along the Indian paths. Here was a paradise right here where Portsmouth would one day be.
It took a fiber that was strong and of good stock. It took a belief in God to make the trek. But this was a part of America, part of hope for tomorrow that would come with the sunrise.
Sanders, darling, get yourself to milking.
Oh, gee, Ma. I ain't got a good squeeze left in me.
You get your tail a wagging before Bessie has to deliver that milk herself.
When the day's work was done, the eating, drinking, and dancing began. But looks as if there's some activity going on over there. What's that man pacing for?
Hey, John, I hear your wife's expected. Did that wagon ride jolt her up a mite?
Yeah, the baby's due any minute. If somebody get some hot water or something.
It's here! It's here! Hallelujah, everybody! It's here! I say, it's here!
It's a boy.
No.
It's a girl.
No.
Then what is it?
A pony!
A pony.
Yep, my mare just had the prettiest little filly you ever did see.
Your mare? Who cares about your mare? What about my wife?
Oh, your wife? Nothing unusual there. She just had triplets.
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Triplets? And we already got 12?
Come on, somebody give the poor boy a drink.
Folks, I'm sure glad you chose to settle here. I know you won't regret it. Sure as my name's Josiah Shackford from Portsmouth, New Hampshire. I can promise you this town will someday be one of the greatest river ports in the country. Now let's warm ourselves for supper with a little square dancing. Uncle Pete, get your fiddle, choose your partners, and let's have a hoedown.
Indians were watching us all the time.
Hurry! Get the women and children inside. Move those wagons over here. Take up your weapons. That's a war party if I ever saw one. Sudden death, the everyday hardships of our founding pioneers. It took a courage and determination hard to equal. The Indians continued to raid the frontier in their determined efforts to keep the white man from pushing west, but the white man has already been on the way.
Good folks they were, the Putnams, the Forts, the Cummings and the Browns. They built a new life for themselves. The Glovers, the Darbys, and the Lindsays. They believed in America, and they fought for it.
It's me again. Told you I'd be back. Just wanted to report that Mrs. Barber and the twins are doing just fine. Uriah looks a bit puny, though. Hear that singing? Sounds real nice, don't it? Not just the music, but the idea of folks raising their voices in praise of the Lord. The first church organization dates back to the stone house of Philip Moore, where undoubtedly the first churches were held. The Reverend Henry Bascom preached his first sermon here in 1813. Evening, Reverend Bascom.
Evening, Dr. Wall.
The first Mass was celebrated in 1812 by the Reverend Stephen Baden, the first priest ordained in the United States. Can't tell from here which congregation that is. Oh, yes, that's Sister Hattie's contralto in there. The first circuit preacher visiting Portsmouth was Reverend Wilson Nelson Spring, who came here in 1814.
Let us bow our heads in prayer.
Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Protestant in 5 Catholic churches and its Jewish synagogue.
So you see, you folks of Portsmouth have a religious heritage that didn't start the day you joined the church you happen to belong to. Your church exists today because some good people along the way knew that it belonged here.
When Henry Massey laid out the town of Portsmouth, he dedicated 2 lots on 2nd Street for school purposes. The lots were first rented to Clark Smith, who built a log house on them, and in 1823 taught school there. Inside, there were benches made of slabs, and rough boards were attached to the walls for desks.
School?
No, I'm going fishing down on the river bank.
Mr. Smith will make you sit on the dunce stool if he catches you.
I can't learn about fishing in school. Maybe I can get back before school starts.
Your daddy will chain your hide if he finds out.
He won't find out. Listen, you tattle.
I wouldn't do that, Georgie. You swear? Cross my heart and hope to die.
From their humble beginnings, Portsmouth schools have progressed to today's very sophisticated learning centers, complete with contour seats, carpeted or tiled floors, and computerized teaching aids, and have expanded into a system comprising 5 elementary schools, 3 middle schools, 2 high schools, 3 elementary parochial schools, 1 parochial high school, the Happy Heart School for the physically and mentally handicapped, the Scioto County Joint Vocational School, and Shawnee State University, offering 4-year baccalaureate degrees in several areas of the liberal arts and technology.
Good morning, boys and girls.
Good morning, Mr. Smith.
Aha, Georgie, late again. Tell me, did you go fishing?
Yes, teacher. I cannot tell a lie. I went fishing, but the fish wasn't biting.
The fish weren't biting.
Golly, teacher, did you go fishing too?
All right, young man. For being late, it's off to the dunce stool with you. There, now you're a dunce. I think we should practice the recitation that we will present to your parents next week. Proceed, please. Penelope Ann.
Scioto County is a land of sunshine when it ain't raining.
There are lots of fish in the Scioto River
when they're biting.
You're tempting my patience, Georgie.
We grow lots of vegetables in Wayne Township.
Yeah, that we're forced to eat.
Young man.
We have big trees in Portsmouth.
And little dogs.
Georgie, I will have to apply the Board of Education to the seat of learning, which is your britches if you don't hush. Continue, children.
We grow lots of corn in Ohio.
You can say that again.
And we have the finest school that we've just loved to attend. We thank you.
Teacher, I have a question, please.
We know where you're going. We know where you're going.
And now, Georgie, let's do what's going to hurt me more than it does you.
If you like, we can exchange places.
Bend over, young man. Say, what are those little red dots on your face?
Well, see, that's what I've been trying to tell you. I've got the measles.
Measles? Class dismissed.
Well, that's one way to go fishing.
Mr. Smith, you had a busy day.
Things in Portsmouth remained pretty much the same from 1820 to 1827. Its citizens were mostly farmers. However, in 1827, a big change took place.
That's what it says. Portsmouth, Ohio has been chosen for the southern terminus of the Ohio Erie Canal. And that's going to mean growth, new business, prosperity. Wake up, Portsmouth. They're going to bring the canal to us. Don't you know what that means? More people, more business, more prosperity. Dig that canal. Welcome Mr. Gaylord there. He's going to build us into an iron and steel center. Yay! The Gaylord Rolling Mill will soon put Portsmouth on the map. Yay! Look at those bankers, businessmen, and speculators rushing to Portsmouth. They're bringing us money. Yay! And would you look at those fashionable people? They come all the way from New York on their way to New Orleans. Load up those boats with pig iron, nails, and fire up those furnaces. There's more boats coming, and they want more iron. Yay!
The canal completed to Portsmouth in 1835 brought an era of great prosperity. Soon there were 11 furnaces and 10 forges within 30 miles of Portsmouth.
Hundreds of passengers were being hauled daily to cities along the great waterway. Tons of pig iron were hauled to the river and shipped to points north, south, east, and west.
Sometimes an occasional canal boat got hung up on a sandbar. It happened to the steamboat Bonanza in the 1870s.
Then one day, a new mode of transportation arrived on the scene to bring a definite change in Portsmouth. You there! You there, I say, give us a hand. We need help. The boat is stuck in the canal.
Forget the canal.
What?
Let it dry up.
What?
We won't need it anymore.
What?
Don't you hear what I hear? A new mode of transportation is on its way. While you were digging ditches and struggling with the canal boats, we were laying tracks. And now we can reach your markets faster. Here she comes, the Iron Horse.
Wait, hold that train for me, please. Hold that train. Hold the train.
With the railroad, new industries, steel and shoes, the future of Portsmouth as an important manufacturing center became assured.
Oh, please, hold that train for me, gentlemen, please. Oh, gentlemen, help me in my moment of distress.
Are these yours, ma'am?
Oh, how dare you! How dare you, you dirty old man!
Folks, we're certainly glad of the reception you've given the Scioto and Hockin Valley Mine, and we know that this is just the beginning. Soon other railroad lines will be coming into Portsmouth. Well, what say? This certainly calls for celebration. Let's all partake in some fancy stepping. Everybody line up for a dandy round of the Virginia Reel.
Although the canal to Portsmouth continued in operation for a while, its importance rapidly dwindled with the building of more railroads.
were always a matter of keen interest. Particularly so was the election of 1860.
This election commanded strong local attention because a young man who had spent his boyhood in the neighboring state of Kentucky was the Republican choice to lead the country.
I say, follow Lincoln, follow the rail splitter, a humble man, self-educated and a friend of the people.
And I say, vote Breckinridge and Lane. Vote the Southern Democratic and follow us to victory. The North will lead this country down the path of ruin.
The people went to the polls, and their choice was made. Portsmouth was eager to hear the results.
Friends of Portsmouth, the returns have just come in on the telegraph. The winner of the election is, folks, Abe Lincoln is the President of the United States.
Stunned, the South split from the Union and formed the Confederacy. Bitter and scathing accusations were hurled from both sides. Portsmouth was on the thin dividing line as national issues drove like a wedge between North and South.
Hurt turned to hate as brother turned against brother, father against son.
Stop! I'm a citizen of Portsmouth and I'm fighting mad. Because of one word in this paper, the bright promise of the pioneers will be halted. At a nearby church, a choir rehearses for next Sunday's service. The director of that choir will become a widow because of the word. At a local railroad station, two friends say goodbye. These two men will become enemies because of the word. At a private home in Portsmouth, a group of young people enjoys a social evening. 3 of these boys will be dead because of the word. And that word is war.
When the guns were fired at Sumter, the Kenny Light Guards under Captain George Bailey were among the first to respond. The city's extensive iron industry was made into a vast gun armory producing hundreds of tons of armor plate and gun barrels.
Recruits would become battle-hardened veterans. Men would emerge out of gangling boys, and the flower of a nation's manhood would be trampled underfoot on the green fields of Virginia and upon the rolling hills of Pennsylvania.
Company G was later organized into the famous 56 under the command of Colonel Peter Kenny. They saw action and lost men at Fort Gibson, Vicksburg, and Red River, Texas.
Mrs. Amanda Purcell organized a Soldiers' Aid Society. A widow whose sons were too small to bear arms, she, nonetheless, felt she must make a personal contribution to the cause of the Union.
I'm asking you to take the place of my husband. I know he would be among the first to volunteer. Here is my life savings. My only provision is that I never know your name or what may happen to you. May God be with you.
The work of the society in sending money and supplies to the front made the Portsmouth soldier more fortunate than many of his comrades. The 30th of May was set aside to honor deceased servicemen in Portsmouth long before it was a national holiday.
A number of Portsmouth volunteers were killed in the Battle of Vienna, and when their bodies were returned home, a great public funeral was held in their honor.
In their gratitude, the men sent to the people of Portsmouth a flag captured during the Battle of Fort Gibson.
The communication accompanying the flag read, Headquarters, 56th Ohio Volunteers, rear of Vicksburg, Mississippi, June 21st, 1861. Resolved that the 56th, while striving in this unholy conflict, reciprocates the kind sentiments of those at home who give such substantial proof of their devotion and patriotism.
Finally, from a field at Gettysburg came simple words of mourning and a plea that would reunite the nation.
Be it here highly resolved that these honored dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation under God shall have a new birth of freedom, and that the government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth.
I can read his righteous sentence by the
A Tale of Two Rivers will resume after a 10-minute intermission.
Welcome back. Well, sir, to go on with the story, Portsmouth industry was greatly stimulated by the need for its products which the Civil War generated. The boom created by the war carried over into the post-war years, causing many people to move to this busy port on the Ohio River. Why, by 1870, Portsmouth could boast a population of 10,592 people, and still growing.
In 1866, three Sisters of Charity arrived from Cincinnati to start Portsmouth's first parochial school.
In 1873, construction was begun on Portsmouth's first street railway.
In 1879, Portsmouth's first public library opened.
And that same year, the telephone was introduced to Portsmouth.
You don't say. You don't say. You don't say.
Who was that?
She didn't say.
The wheels of progress began to turn more swiftly now, and the period between 1890 and the turn of the century marked a decade of industrial and economic growth unsurpassed in Portsmouth history.
People's Brick Company makes the world's first paving bricks in Portsmouth plant.
Our railroad franchise sought from City Council.
Oh, Opera House opens with first play called Our Angel.
Gee, Goose Nest Hotel site selected for government building.
Our railway franchise granted by City Council.
E Company formed from Portsmouth H Company and sells for enemy action.
F. Selby Shoe Company stocks and shares soar to all-time high.
S. Shoes become big business in Portsmouth.
Put them all together, they spell...
P. Patterson takes over publishing the Portsmouth paper.
Oh, Ohio Military Academy. We opened in 1893.
R. Richland Company pipes gas to Portsmouth.
T. Telephone calls go long distances for the first time.
S. Street Railway begins laying double track.
M. Modern flat purses made by Wheeling Steel.
Oh, Ohio National Guard honors Portsmouth H Company.
U. Uniforms come off as Portsmouth soldiers return from the Spanish-American War.
T. Thompson becomes United States Judge by presidential appointment.
H. High hopes abound as everything booms in Portsmouth.
Boom, boom.
By 1900, Portsmouth's population had leaped to 17,870.
And there you are with your hair slicked down and your mustache waxed back in the first days of the 20th century, our own century.
Rubber balloons! You just had to come to the Selby Shoe Company's annual 4th of July picnic today and sample your sweetheart's box lunch.
Rubber balloons!
It's a happy era of Chautauqua shows and bicycle parties when people came from all over Scioto County for an all-day outing in Tracy Park.
Rubber balloons!
Here come the bicycles built for two, ridden by Portsmouth Cycling Club. There's David Staler and Alex Glockner. They started the club.
Foolish contraption.
Uh-oh. And there they go, right through the homemade pies of the ladies from the Second Presbyterian Church. Rubber Mounds!
There's Captain William Moore and his wife. She was Mary Frances Smith. And there's J.L. Hudson, the city engineer, probably still pushing his way to build a flood wall. Says he has a plan for a wall that can keep out 62 feet of water.
The river will never raise that high.
Rubber Mounds! For the youngsters, there was always a pie eating contest and sack races.
On your mark. Come on, kids, let's get it together. We're ready to start it. Getting those sacks there. Ready to go? Okay, we're ready to start you now. On your mark, get set, go!
Mary Griffin, you stop that. When are you going to learn to act like a lady?
Well, he started it, Mama.
Just wait till I get you home, Carrie Williams. Your father will hear about this.
Ah, shucks, Ma.
None of your foul language, young man.
For the ladies, there was always the pie baking contest.
Ladies, the best pie this 4th of July is a delicious crabapple pie baked by my sister-in-law, Mrs. Rebecca Shabo.
Well, if my relatives were doing the judging, of course.
Let's get him, girls.
Rubber Mounds!
And there's the local photographer, taking 10 types of everyone.
Steady, steady, easy now. Come on. Just line up right over there. Yeah, get it closer together. There you go now. Okay, steady now. This won't hurt a bit. Get ready now. Just hold still and watch the... Nice big smile.
Oh, it looks like there's been a mix-up.
Oh, my, the poor lady's fainted. Help, help, call the fire department.
And here come the firemen from the 7th Street Firehouse to the rescue.
Rubber wrists, rubber ankles, rubber temples.
Rubber Mounds!
And there goes Kate Murphy with fire in her eye.
She's knocked him cold. Get the stretcher bearers.
Stretcher bearers, stretcher bearers. Here come 2 firemen with the stretcher. They'll take care of him.
Come some of the girls in their newfangled bathing suits.
Praise and hussy. Well, I never. Right out in public. What's this country coming to?
Hey, that was a humdinger.
You come on here, John Saul. We're taking the children and going home.
But sugar babe, you can't blame a feller for looking.
Papa, Papa. Come on, Papa.
And there's Charlie the lifeguard, showing off his muscles for the girls.
Oh, girls, ain't he just a fun?
Ladies, it weren't nothing.
Hey, mister, you forgot something?
And of course, for everyone, there was always some exciting event. especially when the traveling medicine show chanced upon the scene. In those days, traveling medicine shows were a poor man's version of Madison Avenue huckstering.
Step right this way, folks. Step right this way. Today, Dr. Swiperbuck is proud to present, for the first time in the Portsmouth area, his all-weather gout eradicator. Guaranteed to cure, positively, headaches, backaches, toothaches, and dandruff. Thank you, folks. Thank you. And now it's entertainment time. An act making its first appearance in Portsmouth. Two acts from the showboat Rhododendron, currently performing at the Market Street dock. For your edification and pleasure, the titillating Tessies from Pittsburgh and the dance that shocked Marietta, the Can-Can.
Yes, this was the flowering of an age in Portsmouth and all over America, an era of peace, contentment, and happy times. Market Street was soon to be paved in brick. Arc lights illuminated the streets. Wages and productivity were rising. Life was serene. There was no great feelings of insecurity or threats of dire circumstances. The people were truly happy. For a time.
Once again, as in the century past, America's forward march would be halted by war. This time, 3,000 miles across the sea. 597 Portsmouth men were among the 2 million sent overseas to end the war, to end all wars. Heartbreaking as it was, Portsmouth said farewell and sent her sons into battle.
Some of the Portsmouth doughboys did not come back. Others returned to reap the benefits of their sacrifice, to realize their ambitions and to spend their golden years with those they loved. What can their epitaph be in a world that forgot too soon?
In Flanders field, the poppies blow. Between the crosses, row upon row, that mark our place. And in the sky, the lark, still bravely singing fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead. Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunsets glow, loved, and were loved. And now we lie in Flanders field. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you, from failing hands, we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies blow in Flanders field.
The war was over. We had fought and won. But just when everyone was ready to settle down to a quiet, saner way of life, a new American era erupted.
The Roaring Twenties, and how they roared. The echoes could even be heard in Portsmouth.
It was fun, flickers and rouse, much as. It was the era of fabulous nonsense, when prohibition was the real law. But zany people were climbing flagpoles, looking at silent movies, and girls drilled their stockings below the knees. Oh dear, what was a mother to do when her daughter danced? You guessed it, the Charleston.
Okay, boys, get 'em!
Of course, there was some serious business being conducted at the same time.
Both St. Mary's and Holy Redeemer High Schools were given Class A accreditation in 1922. And also in 1922, the Williams Manufacturing Company was established.
there were those who were able to keep the supply flowing. The only thing you had to know was how to say,
Joe sent me. Well, look what I found. Well, looky here what I found.
Look out, kids! Here comes the cop!
What is there, skidoo?
Of course, this didn't happen in Portsmouth.
You want to bet it?
Panic, suicides, the Wall Street crash. Yes, we felt it too. The Depression. We all had to tighten our belts a bit and...
Extra, extra, read all about it. Flood threatens Portsmouth. River expected to reach 59 feet. Extra.
something had to be done and quick.
The flood wall had to be reinforced at Sandbay. Fred Winter, veteran observer, grazed the river and kept watch every hour.
Extra, extra, Portsmouth flood predicted. Water should rise 70 feet. Extra.
70 feet? That was higher than the flood of 1913. It was expected that the downtown area would be flooded for about 1 week.
25 persons narrowly escaped with their lives as the West Side ferry sank in the river.
The Red Cross set up a food distribution center at Franklin Methodist Church and at the Central Presbyterian Church.
This is WKY. Refugees from the Portsmouth flood are seeking shelter in Chillicothe, Jackson, and Piketon. All neighboring communities are being asked to provide shelter until all is back to normal. The City Health Department cautions residents to boil their water before using. And a final note, the Hilltop Church is being converted to a commissary. We will remain on the air.
On the 27th of January, the river neared its crest. The water supply was shut off except for 1 hour each day. Penny's Lane Spring became a mecca for those who felt the need to stock up on their water supply.
This is WPNY back on the air after having moved our transmission equipment to the attic of our building. We bring you a special news bulletin. The Weather Bureau has announced the worst is over. The river is lowering.
On the 30th, 2,500 WPA workers began the task of cleaning up.
In the final analysis, Portsmouth suffered the loss of more than $16 million in the cost of the flood and its cleanup. 500 buildings were destroyed, and nearly $4 million in personal property was lost.
As it had done in the past and will continue to do in the future, community spirit answered the call for assistance, and the recovery was rapid. The years moved swiftly by, We had faced the Great Depression and the Great Flood, and we were looking toward the 40s with hope of better things.
FDR was still in the White House, and from Munich came the immortal phrase, "Peace in our time." This was soon to be forgotten in the bloody Dunkirk.
December 7th, 1941, a typical day, and the Christmas feeling was in the air. It was a warm day. There were Sunday strollers in Mound Park. The family was gathered in the living room, wrapping Christmas gifts and listening to the radio.
But over in Hawaii, a frantic, desperate message was being pounded out at a naval base called Pearl Harbor.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt this broadcast to bring you a special news bulletin. From Washington, the voice of the President of the United States.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan. The United States was at peace with that nation, and at the solicitation of Japan, was still in conversation with its government and its emperor, looking toward the maintenance of peace in the Pacific. Indeed,
Portsmouth industry and its people contributed heavily to the war effort. Wheeling Steel produced bombs and other war materials, and Selby filled many war orders.
For 4 years, our men fought and died in every major battle. The African invasion, Tunisia, Sicily, Italy, Salerno Beach, the Battle of the Bulge. They killed and were killed, day after day, month after month, from one dirty battle into another. Guadalcanal, Tarawa, New Guinea, and the Philippines. Our men fought this bloody war because they were Americans. You, peace.
Then one morning, the people of America awoke to see a picture that appeared on the front page of almost every newspaper in the country. A picture that showed the fighting and winning spirits of our American boys. The flag of these United States atop Mount Cervantes, a symbol we will always remember with dignity and pride.
From Scioto County, 265 men died in service of their country. Then, as in Korea and Vietnam, our sons fought the cause of freedom.
The late 40s and early 50s brought in the greatest boom period in Portsmouth history.
In 1952, the Atomic Energy Commission built a $1 billion plant in Pike County, just 20 miles north. And since much of the construction activity was centered here, Portsmouth experienced the atomic boom.
Overnight building permits skyrocketed.
Thousands of temporary construction workers descended on the area.
Trailer parks sprang out.
Traffic became congested.
Stores were crowded.
Schools overflowed. It was wonderful.
There were those who wished it would go on forever.
And when the construction was completed, the temporary workers moved on to other projects, leaving behind some excellent new citizens, the permanent plant workers.
Yeah, we grew and grew. This was the era of the split level and the gray flannel. Our men who once thrived on wine, women, and song now settled for Metro-Cal, the same old gal, and sing along with Mitch.
1960s, and America entered the space age.
In 1963, Portsmouth saw the beginning of the River Days Festival. Portsmouth and the tri-state area looked forward to the exciting six-day event, which through the years has featured parades,
Tunnel boat races, visiting celebrities, hot air balloon rides, the fabulous Rotary Club fish fry, the Cider River canoe race,
the Miss River Days pageant,
the Southern Hospitality Ball,
and concludes with the awarding of the Governor's Trophy to the boat accruing the highest number of points in the various racing events.
In 1965, we became a sister city to Orizaba, Mexico.
In 1966, the first annual Trout Derby was held.
In 1968, the $4 million Scioto Memorial Hospital opened. Although Portsmouth began the decade of the 60s on a note of high optimism, events tended to cloud the rosy picture.
assassinations, rebellion, and war had their sobering effects on the good citizens of the All-America city. Oh yes, we remember the 60s.
Get a
haircut.
Get lost, man. You're living in the Stone Age.
Then why are you the one that's stoned?
This, folks, is a psychedelic Stone Age.
Oh, get a job. Who do you think you are, anyway?
An Aquarius man dented for greatness or madness.
So what are you going to do with your life? What do you want to be? Besides unkept.
There's a war going on, you know. Why don't you join up?
I'll eat it first.
Eat what?
My draft card.
The Army will be good for you, son. You're doing the right thing.
We're proud of you, son. Right soon, son.
Kill one for me, buddy.
The 1970s would see the so-called token assistance to Vietnam escalate into a full-scale conflict that our American boys would not be allowed to win.
What was it all for? What was it all about? Why were we there? Mom, Dad, why?
Some time has gone by since our Vietnam veterans came home. There were no bands playing. There were no flags waving. A memorial was finally constructed in Washington. That helped.
Hey, no big deal, man. But if you want to make a personal statement to your friend, the Vietnam veteran, the next time you see him on the street, just say thanks.
The remainder of the 70s saw the opening of Scioto County Vocational and Technical School.
And the opening of the Southern Ohio Museum and Cultural Center.
The economy of the Portsmouth area is built on coke, chemicals, gray iron castings, refractories, shoe laths and laces, brake drums, and assorted products, manufactured in more than 75 manufacturing firms in the area.
Lumber, wood products, and agriculture also contribute several $1 million annually to the economy. These are complemented by more than 400 retail outlets.
Now, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm Shirley Adams, and I just wanted to let you know that we have had some mighty interesting and accomplished residents over the years. I guess you could say that Portsmouth's finest export is her native sons and daughters, and we may as well boast about some of them. There's Clarence Carter, the artist who has gained worldwide recognition for his many paintings.
The quality of mercy is not strange. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven.
Julia Marlowe, who made her mark on stages all over the world as a Shakespearean actress. Branch Rickey, for many years a leading figure in Major League Baseball management. Kathleen Battle, internationally acclaimed operatic star. Conley, country music star whose yearly homecoming concert benefits Scioto County students. Jesse Stewart, the author who, though maintaining his status as a country boy, still claims Portsmouth as his hometown. Ronald Wright Jr., Speaker of the Ohio House of Representatives longer than any predecessor in history. Paul Ryan, inventor, credited with many inventions helping flyers navigate more safely. William Harsha, serving over 20 years in the Congress of the United States. Dan Quayle, Vice President of the United States. Clyde Mccoy, world-famous trumpet player of Sugar Blues fame. And remember those neighborhood kids who were always playing sandlot baseball? Chuck Ely, Don Gullett, Gene Dennis, Al Oliver, Wayne Blackburn, Larry Heisler, Rocky Nelson, Dale Rice, and Kurt Gentry. How's that for a hometown team? Many, many more. We've forgotten someone? Well, we can't mention everyone. Oh, him. Well, I guess you're right. We should mention him. Our own Leonard Sly, otherwise known as Roy Rogers, King of the Cowboys. In 1982, when Scioto County paid tribute to her favorite son, 10,000 people, spilled into the street and stood elbow to elbow on the Roy Rogers Esplanade to welcome home the local boy who grew up to become an American legend.
On my
was a decade of yuppies, cellular telephones, VCRs, Walkmans, and personal computers. The Russian words glasnost and perestroika entered our language, symbolizing a rollback in communist totalitarianism and a thawing of the Cold War. Portsmouth, in the later port of the 20th century, along with the rest of America, lost some of its innocence. And now, as we enter the 1990s and prepare for the 21st century, let's take a look at the Portsmouth teenagers of today. The fender lizards, the punkers, the...
Hey! Wait a minute, dude. Cut us some slack. Some of us dress like punks. Some of us are punks, but some of you were too. Well, you didn't turn out so badly, and neither will we. There are some pretty bad situations to be faced in the future, that's true. But there are some wonderful opportunities there too. Maybe we're not as innocent as the people in the past, but neither is the time we live in. Don't put us down, dude. This is the world we inherited, and we'll take care of it fine. Oh, we'll make some mistakes, just like you did, but we'll handle it.
Get the point? Good. Let's dance.
In 1980, Portsmouth was declared an all-American city.
In 1987, we saw the opening of the Carl Perkins and the Greenup Dam bridges over the Ohio.
In 1988, Portsmouth won the state basketball championship.
And Shawnee Community College became Shawnee State University.
Wyandotte County has several fine sites for industrial plant location and development, and the availability of sufficient water, electric power, and fuels, as well as rail and truck transportation, augurs well for the future.